What's going on, everybody? My name is Tomas. This is my review of the iPhone 7 Plus 30 days later. Now, I want to preface this video by saying I have been an Android user since the HTC G2. This is when I returned home from my deployment and smartphones were a thing. And ever since then, I've been Android and I've been faithful to it. And I've never have ever owned an iPhone up until now. So to start my review off, I want to talk about the build quality. Apple has never ceased to amaze me with their build quality. My wife has owned an iPhone since the 5S, and since then I've always been a little bit jealous of the quality of build her device held in comparison to whatever Android I was using at the time. And with the iPhone 7 Plus, this is no different. The waterproofing edition, it was one of my top sells and one of the main reasons I decided to hop over to iPhone and give iOS a shot, and the water resistance hasn't let me down since. I mean, I haven't jumped in a pool or anything with it, but I have had no worries with it, and this is probably the first time, no, it is the first time I've never had that worry. When I first got the iPhone 7 Plus in hand, I was a bit skeptical of how the 1920 by 1080 display would hold up, because this is a 5.5 inch device and a quite large one at that. I was pleasantly surprised at how high quality of a display the iPhone 7 Plus actually has, regardless of the screen resolution. The color accuracy is just phenomenal. In addition to viewing angles, I can really just enjoy consuming all of my media outside. I have no issue viewing it in direct sunlight either, and that's a really big plus for me. The new home button was a really big sell to me. Less moving parts means less opportunity for failure. One thing I will say, however, with this new button is that when I have it laying flat on a table, it's really hard to understand if I'm clicking it or not. And I always seem to activate the voice control because I have Siri disabled. Voice control always pops up and aggravates the hell out of me when I'm trying to press the home button when my iPhone 7 Plus is laying flat on a table. Now, the newly designed speaker format on the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus is a stereo setup. So there is a speaker in the headphone receiver and at the bottom of the device. It does adjust when you go from landscape to portrait, but I've ultimately found that it doesn't get loud enough when I need it to, especially on calls when I have the phone on speaker. The iPhone 7 Plus and 7 fall flat when it comes to having the phone on speaker. Now let's talk about the huge elephant in the room with it not having a 3.5mm headphone jack. That really didn't bother me because I've never really used headphones with my smartphone. In my opinion, it's less crevices for dirt and dust and all kinds of crud to get into, so I'm all for it. One of the biggest concerns I had before I made the jump or the decision to jump to iPhone and iOS was the availability of apps, and not necessarily the availability of them, but the cross-platforming. Could I one-for-one the apps that I was using on Android? And I am happy to report to you that I was able to cross everything over except for my alarm clock app, one Twitter client that I used quite a bit, and a wallpaper app. I know there's Android Pay and Samsung Pay and all other kinds of pay, but I have always been super envious of my wife's ability to use Apple Pay. Now I can use Apple Pay myself, and I've been Apple Pay crazy. I've found on iPhone and iOS that HomeKit type things are more tightly integrated and they function a whole lot better. Things like my Nest, some Saatchi lights that I have connected through HomeKit, and a Wemo, they all respond almost instantaneously when I take action through the app. I can't always say that for the Android version of those. Things like the creative applications are just way better on iOS. For example, Lightroom, that application's like a full-blown desktop app, and the iPhone is powerful enough to run it, so it works really, really well. Another thing that's really awesome is GarageBand. I've been like addicted to that because I'm just sitting here, you know, clicking away on my phone. Another thing that is very apparent in differences across applications versus Android and iOS is the DJI Go app. DJI Go app is just like light years ahead of the version that's on Android. One thing I've had a really difficult time with, especially with the size of this device, is not being able to move icons on the home screen to where I want them. I don't care that you take away widgets from me. Please let me put my folders and icons where I want them. I don't need them to fall in line. I am no longer in the Marine Corps, and I don't need to have this nice order about my home screen. I'm really okay with placing icons wherever I want. Apple, if you ever see this video, I'm sure you've heard this complaint before from other Android users, but please let me put my icons where I want on the home screen. Now, I know there's the quick tap and it brings the home screen down and all that type of stuff, but I don't want to do that. I just want to click on my icons at the bottom of the screen. I want to touch on one thing that is very apparent. The availability of accessories. Companies are making bomb-ass accessories for the iPhone and iPhone 7 Plus. You name it, you got it. Everybody and their dog is out there making cases for the iPhone, and some make some awesome stuff. So just be aware that if you are thinking about jumping over to iPhone, know that there are cases out there, and there are some really awesome cases in addition to some accessories. Now let's talk about the camera. The camera's okay. I mean, I don't have complaints, but I'm not like floored by it. iOS's recent release of the beta for portrait mode is pretty neat. It does need some work, and I'm glad they've kept the beta tag on it. But again, I hope they don't keep the beta tag on it like they've done with Siri for the past 20 years or whatever. I know I'm over exaggerating, but you know what I mean. They do have that commercial where they're shooting in low light with that kid going around and stuff like that. And I don't know what kind of stuff they're smoking before they made that, but this thing really falls apart in low light. And the dual lens on the iPhone 7 Plus is a really neat idea. I'm kind of upset that the telephoto lens or the sensor doesn't have optical image stabilization. I think it's a electronic image stabilization where it's all done electronically. Again, the camera's just okay. I'm been spoiled by my Sony a7R II and my Sony a6300, and I completely understand those are different sensors, and this is a cell phone and blah blah blah. But they're shopping this like it's the DSLR replacement. I don't think it'll be or have the ability to replace your DSLR. The codec in this thing and the bitrate really struggles with a lot of movement. If you're moving the thing on shooting video, you can see that it starts to fall apart, and that's just the nature of the beast for now. We'll see what technology does in the future with the camera, but for now, the camera's just okay. And more with the camera, Apple, if you don't make an adjustment to where I can change the format and the frame rate of what kind of video I'm shooting with being in the camera app, I'm gonna freaking lose my mind. I hate having to jump out, go into settings, go into the camera, and then decide what kind of frame rate and what kind of resolution I want to shoot. That absolutely makes no damn sense, and it's another really frustrating thing about iOS. Can I just click into it and make adjustments? And why can't I shoot 24p? Come on, please. Let me make some adjustments to my camera. Now, I know there are applications out there that will allow me to do this, but I want to be able to do it in the stock camera application in iOS. All right, before I close, I have one final thing I want to talk to you about on the iPhone 7 Plus, and it's battery life. It's nothing short of amazing. I know it has a lot to do with the screen resolution on this device and probably the size and how they're managing power on the back end and how iOS is all integrated with the hardware or whatever, but it is just phenomenal. It's magical. I can take it off the charger at 5:30 in the morning. I go throughout my day, get home, get in bed, go to bed at around 11:30 at night, and I still have 5 or 6% left. I'm getting into the almost 7.5 hour usage times. The battery life by far is the biggest positive thing that I've experienced when now having made the change over to iOS. The battery life is freaking amazing. And I have been using it for the past 35 days, and it's been the same every single day. Well, thanks for sticking with me through this iPhone 7 Plus review. And I didn't talk about specifications or anything. I just strictly talked about my usage and what I think about the device and from Android users' perspective. That about does it for me in this one. If you like this video, please feel free to give me a thumbs up. If not, hit the other one. I'm Tomas, and I'll catch you in the next one.